County Commissioner meeting order. Rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Morning, we'll open the meeting with public comment. Is there any public comment?
Morning, Commissioners. Tim Ravendall, citizen of Broadwater County. I'm here this morning just to quickly do a follow-up on a couple of weeks ago. I brought forward a presentation to the Commission to look at in our natural resource end of the world here in Broadwater County. And I'd just like to do a quick follow-up. American Stewards of Liberty, which used to be previously Stewards of the Range, is really kind of the national organization that's pushing for local government to move forward in a couple of different areas. They're working with a team of attorneys and biologists right now to delist a species that does not warrant federal endangered or threatened protection. Too many species of flora and fauna have been placed on the federal endangered species list based on limited data and questionable assumptions flowing from lack of sound science. Because of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service has regularly failed to implement the statutorily required review of species, the service has effectively delayed or outright prevented the delisting of species where warranted. As a result, numerous taxpaying American citizens are currently being deprived of their use of their land. We are actively working to change this. As you may recall, we talked about the waters of the U.S. when I gave that presentation, where they can actually designate a mud puddle in your yard as a protected area of land, as well as maybe a frog or something might jump in that puddle. So we got to be careful that we are aware of this. That's where it's at. Coordination does work. It's been done in several different counties, as I've mentioned at the presentation. And that's also tied with the 30 by 30 plan by our federal government, which has basically been declared in many areas as unconstitutional actions by our federal government. The 30-30 program is a plan advanced by radical environmental activists to permanently protect 30% of America's lands and oceans by 2030. The program was adopted by President Biden administration through an effective executive order 14008, tackling the climate crisis at home and abroad. And that was done in January 2021. Again, I hate to be repetitious here, but I just want to make sure in case there's somebody that's watching or listening, they can be up to speed of where we're at here. Proponents argue that the climate impacts are human-caused and permanently preserving 30% of America's land and oceans is necessary to reverse climate change. That is a direct impact to us here in Broadwater County with the public land that we have. And then as you move forward, the science and data do not justify these extreme policy measures, and again, it's unconstitutional policy, and policy does not trump our constitutionally protected rights, especially under private property, which is the foundation of our freedom. So we need to be moving us from a nation founded on private property principles to a controlled by the administrative state? I do not think so, and I will urge our commission here and everybody to make sure that we stand solid and protect the rights of property right owners here in Broadwater County, and that comes into the resolution that I introduced for you folks to consider. The draft was presented, and I'm more than willing to work with the commission as well as the community and anyone else to make sure that we take a very close look at that, to make sure that we take a stand here. There's been some more developments at the national level with the infrastructure bills that are being pushed through Congress that are spending money against we the people. We need to make sure that we're standing on guard for our future. So with that, one example here is the National Heritage Area that's looking at taking a whole lot of Montana up in northeast Montana from the Dakota prairie reserves, etc. And again, that's just another example of takings of private property and putting that out of commission and putting land that's out of natural resource management conditions. So with that, I have a hell of a meeting this morning and I'm on my way out of here, but I wanted to stop by this morning and check with you folks real quick. I haven't heard any more from our presentation. I would love to be able to ask you folks directly to really consider what we need to do, what we can do regarding the resolution, and to make sure that we're moving forward on the front page of protecting our natural resource and access to our public land resources without further intervention from positions that are not right. And again, this kind of comes back into what I said earlier. It's an example of the county roads that have been taken, that are accessed for we the people. Indian Creek, White's Gulch. These are areas that the Forest Service has closed arbitrarily because of whatever reasons, and we need to make sure that we maintain and get that access back, because we can't manage our resources if we can't get to them. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Sue. Yes, sir.
So Tim, a lot of times when we do things with federal actions, they publish something in the Federal Register as the beginning of whatever policy they're doing. Do you know if anything formal has been, any formal steps have been taken with this 30 by 30 policy announcement?
Mr. County Attorney Corey Swanson, yes, there has been some formal introduction of some legislation through Congress on the House side to back up the planning and the process to move forward in implementation of the executive order.
Okay, there was an executive order?
Yes.
And it was, do you know if it was published in the
Federal Register, July 20, let me look, I wrote that down just in case somebody asked. January 27, 2021, it was in the Federal Register as an executive order 400-14008. Executive order number.
Tell me the date again.
January 27th, 2021. And then in April, there's been some more action in the annals, if you will, of the federal government, looking to further define that executive order and to implement its intent.
If you could send me those Federal Register numbers, then I can look those up.
I can get them for you, Corey. I don't have that actual number there, but that's I can definitely get that to you and forward that to you.
Thanks.
Okay? Thank you.
Any other public comment? Seeing none, we will move on to the 10 o'clock discussion decision. Tracy Kiesel, Coordinator, Secretary, Broadwater County DUI Task Force.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Tracy Kiesel, Broadwater County DUI Task Force Secretary and Coordinator. This is the time of year when we bring you our annual plan, our budget, our meeting calendar list, and our membership contact list for approval and signatures. These items are due to the Montana Department of Transportation on June 1, so we're still on time. We still have time to get them in on time today. So I know you've all been provided all four of those documents, and I will just brief through them real quickly, and we'll start with the annual plan. That plan is 18 pages long, and it includes a lot of data. The first part is just a lot of state overview and charts. Page 3, the most important part of page 3 is that we are supporting the Department of Transportation's vision of zero, and that is 0 serious injuries and 0 deaths on our roadways. No loss of life is an acceptable measurement, so we are supporting the Vision Zero Safety Initiative. Page 4 has some additional state data, and that is the exact data that comes out of their annual comprehensive highway safety plan. Page 5 is some vehicle occupant fatality data and alcohol impaired driving fatality data. Page 6, we are one of the state-approved DUI task forces. Those are all county boards, and not every county has a DUI task force. But right now, I believe there are 38 counties that are represented with a DUI task force and 2 tribal DUI task forces that represent 5 of the tribal areas. A couple of them combine their DUI task forces amongst multiple tribes. Page 7, the bottom of page 6, and then on to page 7 starts our Broadwater County data and information. As you know, there are 2 law enforcement agencies here in Broadwater County, the Sheriff's Office and the Highway Patrol, who monitor our roadways. The bottom of page 7 has some Broadwater County citation data through 2018, and you'll notice in these data sets, some data is complete through 2018, some of it is complete through 2019, and that's just because data sets often take a little bit of time to, at the end of that year, to be verified and complete. So some of the Department of Transportation and the Department of Justice data isn't released for a year or so past that particular year and then becomes available. So then on to page 8. This is our alcohol-related and seatbelt use crash data, the first data set. That's 2010 to 2019. We include seatbelt education in our DUI task force plan because we know that alcohol in and of itself is not killing people on our roadways. It's certainly impairing their ability to drive safely and operate a motor vehicle, but what is actually killing them is when they're tossed around inside their car or out of their car. So the 3 biggest contributors to our fatal crashes here in Montana are speed, alcohol, and seatbelt use. Speed and alcohol are contributing factors in crashes, and seatbelt use is the contributing factor in a fatality. So in that first data set there on page 8, you'll notice that we don't, here in Broadwater County, we don't have the number of fatalities that our larger counties have, but we certainly think that even when there's one fatality, it's a significant issue for the smaller communities because everybody knows everybody. So it's someone's family, someone's friend, someone's relative that doesn't come home at the end of a particular day, and that's not a good thing. The last data set there on page 8 shows you that impaired driver crashes in Broadwater County have fluctuated every year since 2010 and decreased dramatically from 2013 to 2015, but increased in 2016 and then again in 2018. Page 9, winter versus summer month fatal and serious injury crashes. I think the average person would assume that we would have more fatal crashes in the winter because our roads are icy and snowy and dangerous, but the data shows us that we have far more fatal and serious injury crashes in the summer months. The only year from 2010 to 2019 where there were more crashes in the winter months was 2017. Every other year, it was either this equal or more crashes happening in the summer months. And summer months are defined as June, July, August, and September. So right now, and in fact, this weekend from Labor Day to Memorial, every day starts the 100 deadliest days of summer. And that's when we see the majority of our fatal and serious injury crashes. So we just started that time period, and hopefully this would be a year that we'd like to see that change. The bottom of page 9 shows you that here in Broadwater County between 2010 and 2019, males represented 69% of the fatal and serious injury crashes and females 31%. Page 10, that data set indicates that drivers over the age of 65 represent the highest amount of severe and fatal alcohol and drug-related crashes in Broadwater County. And then the bottom of page 10 starts our young driver crashes, our young 8th, 10th, and 12th grade data for drinking and driving and riding with a drinking driver, which all comes from the Montana Prevention Needs Assessment data, and that survey is done every other year with those 3 age groups. It's done in 8th grade, 10th grade, and 12th grade every other year. So you can see in there Things have fluctuated. Obviously, for 8th graders, you wouldn't tend to see a lot of drinking and driving because not many of the 8th graders have a driver's license yet. But you can see how it's fluctuated for the 10th grade, 12th grade, and then riding with a driver who had been drinking is pretty significant amongst all 3 of those grades. Page 11, that top data set again comes from the prevention needs assessment, and that set of data in the prevention needs assessment, they ask those age groups, those grades, where they get their alcohol. And the chart shows that 8th grade students predominantly get their alcohol from home with and without their parents' permission, and from someone they know who is age 21 and older. 10th grade students predominantly get their alcohol from home without their parents' permission, and from someone they know age 21 and older, and from someone they know under age 21. 12th grade students predominantly get their alcohol from a party or a keg, from someone they know who is age 21 and older, and also from persons under 21, and from home with and without their parents' permission. So the bottom of page 11 just shows you some things that Broadwater County continues to be challenged with, which are our DUI offenders, minors and underage in possession of alcohol, and illegal alcohol sales. Top of page 12 is your occupant safety and restraint issues. And then our program goal, and I was just noticing today that under our program goal on page 12, we have a couple of things to change there. The first one is the dates, and it should be period July 1, 2021 through June 30th, 2022. So that's that paragraph right there under program goal. And then also under the DUI Task Force Program Administration, that last sentence should say July 2021 to June 30th, 2022. So that's the fiscal year that the DUI Task Force functions under. Our goal remains the same, and that's to reduce the number of motorists who drive under the influence of alcohol and or drugs, reduce our alcohol and drug-related traffic crashes, injuries, and fatalities in Broadwater County by implementing the methods and strategies in the plan. This reduction will eliminate the economic costs associated with those crashes, injuries, and fatalities. The DUI Task Force will support evidence-based educational programs and messaging to address occupant safety and protection related to impaired driving. So the next few pages just goes on to talk about policy and legislation, our enforcement, prosecution, adjudication, and training objectives, our educational awareness, media advocacy, and intervention on page 15. And I know I'm just kind of skimming over some of this, so when we get done, if you have questions or want to spend more time on it, we can go back to it. And then our evaluation, the only way to evaluate some of these programs is to look at crash data. We can look at the prevention needs assessment data or the youth risk behavior data, the Montana Board of Crime Control data, those types of things. So any questions about the plan before we move on to those other three items? It's a lot to take in, a lot of data. So let's go on to our budget. Every year when we come in front of you, our plans are due June 1, but our fiscal year doesn't end until June 30th. So this budget is always estimated since we still have a month left in our fiscal year. So the cash on hand that we expect to carry over into fiscal year 2022 on July 1 this year is $14,000. It's a little more than typical because last year, like most departments and most programs, we didn't do a lot of activities. The big activity that we didn't do last year, which is the one that we're most proud of, is our annual Super Bowl party for teens. We were not able to hold that, and so the money that would have gone into that is carried over into our fiscal year 2022 budget. We expect to get $2,000 in reinstatement fees. I'm not sure if we'll get to that point because we just got a quarterly deposit of $300. That times 4 is not going to add up to $2,000, but for an estimated budget, that's what we're going to try to work off of. And then we still get a reinstatement fee from House Bill 132, which is for every county that doesn't have a DUI task force, all of the reinstatement fees for those counties go into one pot of money. And at the end of each fiscal year, the Department of Transportation divides that equally amongst counties that do have a DUI task force and distributes that. So we put in $250, which has kind of been what that annual deposit has been for the last couple of years. And then the expenditures for our DUI task force will include DUI shifts, office supplies, RAS classes, educational supplies, some travel and training, and then special projects. And special projects would be things that organizations or groups in the community can come ask us to help support them if their activities or events support our mission and our goals. The RAS class, I will just point out to you, we haven't had a RAS class, which is the Responsible Alcohol Sales and Service Training, and that is a class that is mandatory by state law for everyone who serves or sells alcohol, their immediate supervisor, and the owner if they serve or sell alcohol within 60 days of hire and every 3 years thereafter. We haven't had a RAS class here in Broadwater County for probably a year and a half, maybe 2 years even. Because we got to a point where I was driving over here for a 4-hour class and either no one would show up or 1 or 2 people would show up, and that's not really good use of my time. We're one of the only counties that provide that class for free to those people, and they have other options of taking online courses that cost them anywhere from $25 to I think it's $50 to take the online one. So after a while, when we weren't getting very good participation, I just kind of stopped coming over and allowed Broadwater County folks to come to my Lewis and Clark County classes, and we would get a few, and I'm not sure if they were actually taking them online or how they were meeting that requirement, but I did get contacted by the Mint probably a month ago asking if we could have another class here, and I agreed to have a class and see how well that went. And we had that class last Thursday night. The owner of the Mint Atlanta agreed to go around town and talk to businesses and try to get enough participation in that class, and she did a good job. We had 15 people Thursday night at the Mint, and 15 people to us for a class is really good attendance. So that turned out really well, and I think at this point we're ready to see if we can hold some more classes here and get the participation. So we will try to get that back onto a quarterly schedule or something like that. So that's the budget. Do you have any questions for me about the budget? The next one is our member contacts for fiscal year 2022. You see the organizations and the email addresses for everyone there. And then our meeting calendar, we try to meet on the last Wednesday of the month from 3 to 5. We've done a pretty good job meeting via Zoom over the last year, and we are going to now go back to our in-person meetings at the courthouse in the courtroom from 3 to 5 on the last Wednesday of the month. That's all I have for you, and our chairman, Sheriff Meehan, may have some things to offer.
No, you did a great job. I will always say this, and, one of the things that I hold my favorite numbers, that revenue that
Microphone.
you can make me do it, aren't you?
Yep.
I was trying to be quiet because you guys are going to listen to me later, but that revenue just that we operate on is through reinstatement fees. What we're seeing, though, is a lot of people are getting second, third, fourth offenses. They're not getting, if you get a fourth offense, they're not eligible to get a license, so there's no reinstatement fee. Some of these people aren't even getting their license reinstated, they're just operating on a suspended, and so those fees are minimal. And so there's times where we do see a huge increase, and there's times where it's what Tracy just said, $300, $200. So it's always a give and take, and we always have to pay attention to that. One of the things that she did bring up about was the Vision Zero, and as much as we try to keep people safe out there, they're not doing a very good job of protecting themselves. And so if you didn't pay attention to the news this weekend, I think we're 81 fatalities on the roadways this year. Last year at the same time, we were at 41. So huge increase in motor vehicle crashes that resulted in death this year. And a lot of them, it seems kind of consistent there across the board, but a lot of secondary roadways like 287 and things of that nature, not necessarily on the interstate, or some of the bigger, like 93 obviously is always a bad one. But a lot of people are drinking and driving, a lot of drugs involved as well. So, and the seatbelt use is kind of hit and miss. But those are only a couple things I just add to that in that aspect to kind of clear up where that money is coming from. It's not a budgeted, it's not a county tax dollar budget that we operate within the county on. So I just wanted to clarify that. So if anybody had a question for me, otherwise I will be more than happy to sit down. So perfect.
When in your budget did you was there consideration given to the impact of legalization of marijuana?
No, and I think it's probably because that is one of those things that even though I don't think that the ink's dry on what's all there, and I don't think anybody has a true understanding of what that law is going to look like at the end of the day. There's a lot of things in legislation this year after the vote on that, and then people are still trying to figure out what it's going to look like and how it's going to work. And so I don't know if they're going to try to implement things or change things along the way. I don't know. Unfortunately, the data, we get the weekly fatal crash report or whatever it is, and it just says drugs. It doesn't specify what drugs is being used. And so I don't know if that's ever going to come, if that's going to change, if they'll break it down into what narcotic is actually being utilized. It's just alcohol, drugs, or just drugs. So I don't know if that'll ever change. So I'm sure it will eventually. But anything else? Okay, thank you. All yours.
I'll just add to that I think if we find that we need to address some driving under the influence of marijuana, our training and travel and probably our shifts could encompass, if that were to become an issue, we could probably make it work under the items that we've put in there already.
Okay.
So I know we added those couple of changes, and we do need signatures from you today. And I brought 2 cover pages, if you're ready or willing to sign the cover pages, so I can take one and you can take one, and I can re-email the plan with those 2 date changes.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other questions or discussion? Someone care to make a motion to approve the DUI County Task Force Plan and the budget for the DUI Task Force?
I would move to accept the Broadwater County DUI Task Force Plan, budget, calendar, and member list.
Is there a second?
Will second.
Motion's been made and second to approve the DUI Task Force Plan and the budget. Any further discussion? Any public comment? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, same. Motion carries.
We'll keep one. Yep, okay. Thank you. Thank you. Take your time.
Thank you. The next on the agenda is Nicole Brown, Community Development Planner, Bridger Brewing West, final plat approval.
Perfect time. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Just realized I left the final plat in my office, but that's just for your signature. I brought the special pens and no plat. So I'm going to do this instead of going back and forth. I'm just going to hand you the information and you can pass them through. Is that okay? Sure. So this is for final plat approval of the Bridger Brewing West minor subdivision. Condition number 1, prior to any development and/or soil disturbance, a weed management plan for the proposed development shall be submitted to the County Weed District for review and approval. Item number 2, prior to any development, approach permits shall be requested from the Montana Department of Transportation. You have the approach permit application here. I'm going to move on to number 3 because there's no tangible item to pass around. Number 3, the applicant will be required to submit the preliminary and final plat drawings in electronic format to Broadwater County in ArcGIS, AutoCAD, or MicroStation format. Any additional materials may be requested by the county in electronic format to facilitate review of application materials. And I do have all of these files available on my computer as well as on a thumb drive. Item number 4, Plans for the location and installation of individual mailboxes shall be reviewed and approved by the United States Postal Service prior to installation. You have a copy of an email from, I believe it's Rick Newsom, is that correct? The postmaster of Three Forks. Number 5, the developer must show evidence of zoning for the proposed development prior to final plat approval. Provide evidence for MCA applicability to this zoning district. So what you have here is a narrative compiled by the developer's representative showing allowable uses in this zoning district. The only non-allowable use is for residential purposes.
This is one of the changes that we needed
That's
to
correct.
be made.
Yeah, if you recall, the application stated that there was no zoning, so this was the purpose for this condition, to show that it was zoned, and this is the type of allowable use. Number 6, the applicant and the Fire Protection Authority having jurisdiction shall use their best efforts to draft a fire protection plan specifically for this subdivision in accordance with the Broadwater County subdivision regulations. The plan shall be equally acceptable to the FPAHJ, the applicant, and the county governing authority. The plan shall adequately address the fire risk analysis, all findings of fact, and appropriate mitigation measures. In the event the parties are unable to come to agreement by the final plat submittal, the applicant shall become eligible to provide the per lot cash in lieu fee for water supply as may be defined in the Broadwater County subdivision regulations in effect at the time of submittal. So coming around, you have a quite extensive fire plan. There will be, one of the items to note in that packet, a fire hydrant will be installed within the water and sewer district as it's created. I do, however, have a check in the amount of $2,000, $1,000 per lot for the cash in lieu of water supply. And the purpose of the $2,000 is because the fire hydrant will not be installed, obviously, until water and sewer district is up and running, but that is the plan. As you're reading over that, I'm going to move on to 7 because it's a long one. The book and page reference to the restrictive covenants filed with the county clerk and recorder shall be indicated on the face of the final plat. In addition, restrictive covenants, revocable or alterable only with the consent of the Board of County Commissioners, shall be placed upon the property and shall provide for the following. A, per the subdivision application, all lots shall be used for commercial, industrial purposes only. B, notification of the potential health risk from radon concentrations and that such risk can be evaluated through soil tests and mitigated through radon abatement techniques incorporated into structures. C, a notification that all units within the subdivision should be constructed to specifications which meet or exceed equivalent provisions in the applicable state building code for this seismic zone, which is Zone 3. D, notification of the potential degradation of existing emergency services due to the potential for growth in a rural area. E, any additional replacement or relocated utility lines shall be installed underground in accordance with county subdivision regulations unless otherwise determined by the utility provided. F, any exterior lighting shall be directed downward to minimize visibility beyond the property lines. G, notification of the presence of agricultural operations in the vicinity. H, a waiver of the right to protest to join a special district for the purpose of providing community water and/or wastewater treatment system improvements and/or maintenance. I, a waiver of right to protest joining a rural improvement or maintenance district for the purpose of road maintenance, mosquito control, or equitably funding parks and maintenance of parks. J, a restrictive covenant binding the landowner, any heirs, successors, and assigns, and all future owners of property within the subdivision, agreeing therein to hold Broadwater County harmless and indemnify Broadwater County from all claims, demands, obligations, suits, causes of action, damages, and liability, including the county's costs and attorney's fees arising in any manner whatsoever out of or relating to the existence, use, operation, repair, and or maintenance of the following. Sub-item 1, earthquake fault zone and any seismic activity, and number 2, water availability. K, each lot shall be maintained in a clean, attractive, and weed-free manner. Noxious weeds must be pulled, sprayed, or cut prior to seed maturity. L, a prohibition of the storage of foods, garbage, or continuous feeding of domestic pets outdoors, or other activities that creates an attractive nuisance for wildlife species. Hay or alfalfa storage and feeding are not prohibited where livestock are permitted. M, lots shall only allow for livestock if a small acreage livestock management plan is reviewed and approved by the county extension agent and submitted to the county. Each lot shall be required to create and adhere to their own livestock management plan. N, all cats and dogs must be restrained, penned, or otherwise under the control of their owner at all times. O, address numbers shall be clearly marked at the driveway entrance to each lot and be easily identified from the road. Number 8, there's no tangible item here either. Prior to filing the final plat, the following improvements shall be installed or otherwise guaranteed. A, any necessary improvements required by the stormwater drainage plan, weed management plan, fire protection plan, or approach permits, and there are none. And 8B, utilities abutting and available to each lot, electrical and telephone shall be underground unless otherwise determined by the utility provided, and utilities are in place. 9, prior to filing the final plat, the applicant shall A, provide proof that all taxes and special assessments assessed and levied on the property are paid for the current tax year, including any past delinquencies. And 9B, provide documentation, an abstract of title or platting certificate showing that the applicant is the lawful owner of the property with the apparent authority to subdivide the same, showing the names of lien holders or claimants of record and the written consent to the subdivision by the owners of the land, if other than the applicant, and any lien holders or claimants of record against the land. And that concludes the list of conditions. Again, I apologize for not bringing that final plat. I had it on my desk and walked right out without it, but
Do I see two different names on this? Headwaters Investments, and then another one I saw have a different name.
so this is the official name.
Okay.
So the platting certificate shows
Yeah.
who is the official owner of the property.
Okay, and it is Headwaters.
It is Headwaters Investments, correct.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I believe there was a name change through the process, maybe some ownership changes. So this is just certifying that this is indeed who can sign on the plat, who can create this subdivision. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
And did you get my message, Nicole, that the name's changed on the wastewater treatment system again?
Oh, okay, no, I did not, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
So it's now called the Headwaters Utility Association.
Okay.
So attorneys assured me that that was the final name.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah. Yeah, it was always the Wheatland Water and Sewer District, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So,
Are there any documents in there that will need to be changed because of that? Do you think?
the only thing that I've seen would be on,
Essentially, as long as the platting certificate and the official plat match. And I don't know that
Was
that district was named on the plat. I don't know why it would be shown on the plat.
it wasn't named on the plat, but it might have been in, was it the fire?
I thought so.
I think the fire plan may have,
Your number is number 7.
The fire plan was item number 6, I believe. 6. So they may need to edit that name.
Just
Yeah, it says the proposed two-lot minor is a part of the Wheatland Water and Sewer
Okay.
District.
You can make that change, I assume, pretty simply?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can send that over.
If you just send it electronically, I will disassemble that and put that page in there. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know that there were actually any signatures on that document now that I think about it, so. It was more for information. I don't think there were any signatures on there. So if you just send the whole thing, I'll just record that in place. Okay.
Yeah, thanks for making those little changes. Appreciate that.
That's the only page I see, is that front page.
Okay. I can't imagine what other documents would pertain to the water and sewer district specifically that would have that information on there. The weed plan would not. The covenants possibly. So maybe we'll just both take a look. I don't know. Okay.
We just listed the required ones.
Okay.
Is there any further discussion, any other questions? Any public comment? Please would entertain a motion to approve the final plat for Bridger Brewing West.
Go ahead, Denny.
I would move to accept the final plat for Bridger Brewing West.
No, second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the final plat for Bridger Brewing West. Is there any further discussion? Any public comment? Seeing none, we'll vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries.
All right.
Okay, next up, duty family transfer.
Do each of you have your packet with this configuration of lots? Okay. So William and Margaret, Duty, are transferring a piece of property to their eldest son, Jacob Duty. I know there was some question on the signatures, so I just want to draw your attention to the documents I have here. So the first one does show William and Margaret's signature, notarized, and it's stating, and I believe this is probably the document you have as well, that Margaret and William's signatures were notarized, but not Jacob's. So subsequently, Jacob Duty had his signature notarized. He is in Okaloosa County, Florida. So I have the document showing his notarized signature as well. Jania and I have spoken about this. This has been through the COS review committee. No concerns, no questions, no comments other than that of the notarized signatures. So we have answered that question and resolved that situation.
So this is just the new boundary then? That the,
That is correct.
That's
That
all.
northern piece, tract 2, is the tract that's being created for Jacob. And William and Margaret will retain ownership of tract 1.
I see it. They aren't required to establish an easement, is that right?
They're not required to. No.
Any other questions or comments? So take a vote on,
okay. I'll make a motion to approve the duty family transfer.
is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Motion been made and seconded to approve the duty family transfer. Is any further discussion? Any public comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Okay, next is the COS for web greater than 160 acres and to create an ag tract.
Do each of you have your packet with the survey and the affidavit? Mr. William Webb is creating tracts greater than 160 acres. One singular. Tract C is 303.15 acres, creating 2 tracts with agricultural exemptions in place. So Tract A and Tract B, which I think you can see those on here quite well. They are sandwiched between the 2 pivots, north and south. And the purpose, the basis for the exemption request, I'll just read this from Mr. Webb's affidavit, to create a tract greater than 160 acres and 2 agricultural tracts for agricultural purposes only, and sell the tract bigger than 160 acres. This one has also been through the COS review committee.
And they're doing this through his estate, right?
Yes, that's correct. Kelly Webb was the one who did sign on this, yes.
So by creating these as ag tracts, they're not allowed to build on them, right?
That's correct. Well, unless it was maybe a livestock shelter of some sort.
Oh, okay.
Some
No
sort, I'm
residence.
sorry, but yeah, no residence. No, the only way to place a residence, you would have to lift the agricultural exemption. The only way to lift the agricultural exemption is to go through the subdivision process. So essentially, no facilities requiring water and sewer.
Any other questions or discussion with Nicole? Any public comment? So we entertain a motion to approve the web creation of ag tracts.
I would move to accept the Webb Estate Ag Tract.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the web creating of agriculture tracks. Any further discussion? Take a vote. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, same. Carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Win Meehan, Broadwater County Sheriff, Market Wage Adjustment, Senate Bill 238.
Good morning.
Good morning.
See, you made it back okay? Outstanding. I hope everybody had a good weekend. Got some things done. I was out by your house, Mr. Fulford, and didn't see you out there farming, so.
I was just changing water.
Well, we got a couple of things we're going to talk about. And we'll start with the deputies thing in regards to Senate Bill 238. Senate Bill 238 was actually proposed by the Montana Sheriff's Association in an aspect of trying to get to be competitive with the city police and the State Troopers Association. I don't know if you guys followed that legislation much with those other two. One of the big points is the city PDs are making large amounts of money. And so one of the points that Brian Thompson, our lobbyist, brought up was that when the chief of police needed to be replaced in Bozeman and so did the sheriff, 68 people applied to be the chief, one applied to be the sheriff. The chief makes $146,000 a year where the sheriff makes $76,000. And so we brought this in because a lot of agencies, especially sheriffs, just like our agency, continue to train, recruit, and lose the people going to other places to make better money. And unfortunately now we have to compete with Highway Patrol even worse because Highway Patrol's use the big 7 counties, well, 6 of the big 7 and Dawson County. But now in their bill that they had presented, they get to use the big 6 of the big chief of police, so anywhere from $140,000 to $146,000 a year as part of their way to determine their funding. So it's made it a little difficult. But what that bill basically said is that it afforded the sheriff the opportunity to have a discussion with the commission to alter or change the pay scale above just the base wage. Complete discretionary, it's up to the commission, and I think we've talked about that numerous times. It's nothing set in stone. The only thing that was set in stone was really the 1% longevity, regardless of budget freeze or not, and then obviously it had the opportunity to alter the percentages that are statutorial in law right now, where it says that we have to start at 85 if we're a population of less than 15,000. And then they get to go to 90 within the rank structure. The undersheriff was set at 90. Now under Senate Bill 238, the undersheriff goes to 98%, and then the sheriff has the discretion to alter anything from 80, basically 86 to 95. And I haven't got to that point in my life yet to go down that path. But specifically,
This is just for your sworn.
just for sworn officers, yes. And so what I'm here today is one of the things, again, we just lost we've had a struggle trying to recruit the 2 deputies that we got with the Homeland's COPS grant. We struggled with that. That's been a process since June. We finally have one that's completed training and hopefully down there doing business. We have hired another one, but they haven't started yet. So it'll be almost a year we've had that. We've really struggled replacing deputies and getting qualified people to even apply. The other position is a one for our deputy. Obviously, Lauren left and went to another county law enforcement agency in Missouri. So it's just hard with what's around us to get qualified applicants to apply and want to stay here. And so obviously Lewis and Clark County is about $28 an hour starting out at 72% of what the sheriff makes. Gallatin County is right around 27 at 72% of what the sheriff makes. So it's very hard to get people to want to come and be here. So I'm here begging, sort of. I hate to use the word, but we need to change something, and it's hard. I'm looking at the next 3 years. I'm going to lose an undersheriff, and I'm going to lose 2 deputies because they're going to retire. and we got to get people that are here in the line to do so. So the undersheriff, with the budget we had that he's presented, that we've gone over already and a couple times, and we discussed it last week during the budget meeting, but he put in there getting it up something comparable to the agencies around us: Jefferson County, Lewis and Clark, Gallatin. Mars still under from where a lot of folks are at, but they're working on a population base of 1,300 people, so it's a whole different story over there. But with the number that Brandon he gave me a different set of sheets. Hold, give me 1 second here. All right, so right now, our current starting is less than 20, was it 2521? No, excuse me, 20, you don't have 88% here, Brandon, or 85, but he's got it budgeted at 86, which is a year's part, so.
We don't budget for 85.
Yeah, he just got it at the 86, but it basically it'd be less than 1% less than 22.51. So what's that? 22 cents. So it's about 22.38 as a starting deputy, give or take, plus or minus a few cents, and moving that up to about $27, which I don't know what it equates to from my salary, but the only way we get the deputies more money is to increase the sheriff's salary. So, and I know that gives everybody cringes, but I didn't write the law. Somebody else did. So that's kind of where we're at is, and basically our Senate Bill 238 comes into effect in October 1st. And so what our conversations have been is, if the board would consider it, is at least give the deputies whatever cost of living increase that's finalized in whatever you guys decide to do there. I know that there's been the wage compensation board met with a recommendation, but it ultimately comes down to you folks. Give that to the deputies in July, and then allow them the opportunity to have their basically a market wage adjustment starting October of this year. And that's kind of where that's at. Did I miss anything, Undersheriff? Okay. And it is currently, with the budget that's been presented, that the Undersheriff has built and worked on quite hard, that funding for those increases is already in there. It's nothing different. That's how he built it this year, with the understanding where we were at, where we were going. So it doesn't alter what we've already presented to the commission at our working meeting last week. If that makes sense.
Okay, so I just want to make sure I get the request correct. So you're requesting that the deputies receive the COLA starting July 1st?
Yep. And then if you guys approve this, then not make it effective until October 1st. And there wouldn't be any retro to that. That's just a starting point. So. Did you ask if that was on the sworn side?
Well,
correct, okay.
I'm
Just want to make sure it was on the
assuming
sworn
it's the
side,
sworn
yeah.
side, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. No request for your non-sworn?
Well, I was gonna get to that. I just wanted to make sure we got through this one, through the sworn side, and if there was any questions to stay. I didn't want to get too far off into the weeds, so I just wanted to make sure we got that one covered where everybody was comfortable, so.
Okay.
Are we good on that one?
Yeah, I guess.
So with non-sworn, would they get their raise in July? Or would they get it, would you do the same thing with the non-sworn?
So the non-sworn is a different ball of wax, and that one we could actually do in July.
Okay.
Yeah, and so if I may on that one is an issue that I brought up. I came and asked to talk about it after we had another dispatcher put in a resignation. Her last day is going to be Friday. And so that position, that dispatch and detention, we are not getting applicants and qualified applicants. And so no one is jumping the gun to come and work in that environment. I gotta be able to entice somebody. And I don't know how to do it outside of increasing the salary. And we had a discussion. Part of the union negotiations was an adjustment, also with what the undersheriff had planned to try to be comparable, because one of the things that really what's causing issues with dispatchers and detention, they're not required by law to live within the jurisdiction, because there's not necessarily a callback or on-call status with them. So they can basically reside anywhere. And one of the things that we do find is when we send people to detention basic or to dispatch public safety communication basic, is those agencies there's a lot of agencies that go and try to recruit from there, and they offer a lot more money. And one of the things that shocked me was, and I had brought this up once before, was Madison County, which doesn't have a detention facility. They have a small dispatch facility there in Virginia City, and they're starting their dispatchers off between $17.40 and $21 an hour, depending on their experience. And we're at $14.58, I think, is where we're at. And when you have things like that, I have dispatchers that tell me they can go to Lewis and Clark, or they can go to Holland PD actually runs their dispatch. And then Bozeman has their offset, but they can make a lot more money. So it's one of those things, and they're not required to live in the county, so they can stay here and just commute, which I think is going to be more and more common for folks based upon what they're going to make. But so we brought up into the suggestion point of altering, obviously, the dispatch, because they are required. What I found out talking to Kylie Howard last week, I think it was last week, everything blends together, is there's only 6 detention facilities in the state of Montana that operate with the dispatch being the control room as well. And so there's a unique situation that those gals are in, but it does require them to be certified as a detention officer and as a dispatcher, because they deal with inmate movement, they talk to inmates, they deal with inmate mail and everything else. So they have to have a working understanding of what a detention officer is and does, and so they don't violate anybody's rights. So that's one aspect of why there's a difference between a detention officer and a dispatcher in the request that was made. And so we're moving, what we've asked or requested to do is to move the starting salary from both of them are making $14.58 right now. The move detention to $17.76, and then dispatch to $18.35, I believe is what it is. And it gets them back into something that's comparable within other areas. Dispatchers pretty much are pretty standardized across the state. I think they're in regards to what they're making. And then detention is kind of in the same boat as well. It's just a lot of the 6 counties, Mark County is one of them. That's the dispatch as a detention officer as well, but they only have a 72-hour holding facility, so they can't hold anybody there for more than 3 days, and if they do, they come over here. So Toole County's one, Shoto County is one. Shoto County is a 23-bed facility. Wheatland County is one, but I think they only have 7 or 8 beds. And so they're much smaller jurisdictions, much smaller operations than what, obviously, you guys just took a tour through the jail, I think last week it was. I consider going into dispatch a sensory overload with all the cameras, the radios, telephones, the computer screens. And so, we're trying to find people that'll stay. And like I said, having two open positions, no one applying for them, makes things a little hairy because we lose another one. We're up a creek without a paddle, and the same as detention. We're going to be in that particular predicament as well, and it might require me taking full-time sworn deputies and plopping them into a non-sworn position to keep things afloat, which is going to cause havoc on the street side, especially when we come into summer. So, kind of a rock and a hard spot, but those are the two, and I guess that particular conversation is if I can get a yea or nay that would be possible in regards to the non-sworn positions, then we can get those reposted with a higher number, see if we can intrigue somebody to come over and be part of the team. I mean, we give out great benefits. I honestly don't know what else to do to get people to think about it. So, I mean, it's 20-year retirements, medical, dental, vision. I mean, it's I don't know what else to do. So, we thought maybe this might be the avenue to get people to look at it, because it's, we hear it all the time. You can go to Family Dollar and make $15 an hour and get benefits, or you can go work in the jail for $14.58, and no one's real intrigued about that. So, did I miss anything under Sheriff?
Just that we would, be requesting that start July 1.
Yeah.
I think this is going to help a little bit with some retention as well.
Retention would be great, because I think we're at 130. I think we're at 137 employees now in Brandon's 16 years here. So that's a lot of folks come and gone in 16 years. So.
So where do we sit with the union? And I think this was a question with Dejanay and Corey.
But this isn't that I know the wage was a negotiated item. Again, it is already budgeted in the budget that the undersheriff developed. So I don't know if it just takes something off the argument table, or if it just fixes it. So I guess County Attorney Swanson, do you have an opinion?
Well, so we had talked at one point about doing the deputy wage adjustment earlier. I think that has to wait till October 1 because of the effective date of the statute. So as far as the dispatch and detention, doing them effective July 1 with the new budget, whatever COLA the commission agrees on for the entire county would be effective July 1, 2021, right? For as part of the new budget for the rest of the employees. Is that correct?
Well, I don't think it gets settled until the end of September.
Right. What I'm saying is, when we adopt that budget, ordinarily it's retroactive for July 1, isn't it?
Yeah.
Not always.
Well, it's always been that way.
I believe it has been in the past.
It has been, but it's not a requirement.
Right. So anyway, so the issue is the union going to object, saying that it's disparate treatment within the sheriff's office? I understand they visited with the union and that the union's not planning to object to that. So
No, I did have a discussion with Aaron Foley after I had a discussion with you guys, saying, look, I lost another one. I got to do something, and they were fine with it. I said, we're talking about potatoes and tomatoes. I mean, it's not the same vegetable on the tray, and so they understood that obviously they get more grievances and complaints if their staff's unhappy or their members are unhappy, and so it didn't seem, from my conversation with Aaron, that there was going to be any sort of disagreement. I think they were fine with it. Now, I want to bring up one thing with that, though, is that whatever cost of living, it does not go on top of what we're asking for. And I want to make that real clear to everybody that whatever, and it just takes away from where it just adds to it. So the top number's still the same, or whatever that top or bottom number, whichever way you want to look at it. So I don't want people to think that there's going to be this extra, whatever it is you guys decide to do, on top of whatever this is.
I think we had that discussion,
So,
that COLA allowance would be backed out of whatever the percentage would be on the sworn side.
so
And, but I guess from my standpoint, I would have to have a letter in writing from the union stating that they're good with that. I mean, it's not going to go on their word.
I get that. I understand that.
So I mean, that's where I'm at with that.
So if I can get you guys that today, get her to email something over, obviously on the letterhead, signed, scanned. I know we want to try to get this dispatch job sent out. I can't remember what day you said.
The current one closes Friday. We're wanting to reopen it next Monday and close it in July.
So nothing would be in effect of the 21 fiscal year. So I'll be 22.
So you made a request for yourself yet? For your salary?
I don't know what the number is, so
Okay.
I'd bring the number guy.
Yeah.
So you guys should, you all need a Brandon is what you need. I'll be honest with you, he's going to be a hard one to replace when he decides to retire. So
Right there in New York.
So what's the change?
Well, what's your current salary? It doesn't have it on here, but
So it would be, hold on, wait.
I guess just to add a little bit onto what we're talking about here, this goes into a lot of what the major plan has been for the sheriff's office. We went out, we fixed our budget with the help of the public, and now we just need to, figure out a way to retain people. And I think being competitive in the wage department will help a lot.
We'll keep talking.
So, I can't. You're doing math. You're getting me distracted. But I just not only for retention, but you guys have done the tours in that facility, and you've seen what goes on, especially in that dispatch and detention center, and on how hard those people work down there. The different hours, they're constantly getting called in with being short-staffed, and I just feel like that they deserve to make more money and be a lot more competitive, especially to the people that's around us in the other county departments in the same field. So Lewis and Clark, Gallatin County. So I guess anything we have to do to satisfy you guys on getting that letter, we can definitely do that. But I would request that if we can get that decision on detention dispatch, if that could be made today, or just so it isn't prolonged, I'd like it to get an okay or no, just so we can advertise that, so we can start trying to bend some eyeballs our direction for our department. So wind salary, there you go.
So, okay. Anything else you want to add?
Nope.
Are you sure? So to get the deputies up to that $27 and whatever, $27.01, I think is what 85% is, it would require a $5.55 increase to me, according to this. So it says right now I make $25.21. It'd take me to 30.76 is what that says. to get them up to that number. And if we ever hit over 15,000, it would probably change, but what that starting salary is, but I haven't seen the census numbers for 2020.
When you have 2 openings in dispatch now.
And we'll have 2 in detention
Okay,
too.
that's what I was trying to-
Yeah, so Braden Mazzola is coming out of the jail to fill one of the cop grant positions. So, and he's hung in there for about, 3-4 weeks now, trying with my conversation. So he's held in there for a bit and tried to get us there. We need to kind of get on that as well. So that's a booming area, and obviously we need some people down there. So, and that's the other part of the conversation piece, is trying to get people to come here. And if we go in the south end, everybody that's going to be assigned to the south end, whether it be Justin Walker, Braden Mazzola, or Jordan Grimsby, the other one, they're all going to be living here because they can't afford to live in the south end of the county. South end of the county looks a lot like Los Angeles. And the cost of living down there, and I'm not saying the cost of living as in food and things, are just the property and home prices are extremely out of, I don't think any of us can afford to live there. That's what's happening. So those guys are going to end up traveling back and forth to get there. And the other problem is that rent here in Townsend is not what it used to be either. To find something that's decent, so you're going to pay $1,200 to $1,800 a month. They're getting $800 a month to $1,000 a month for an old trailer at 63 Canton Lane. So, at $1,458, I think most of our staff gets about a $700 check. It's hard to pay a rent payment and then raise a family and do the other things of life on that. So, it's tough to get people here, and I think we've used up our pool of local candidates for those positions. We got to try to recruit from outside, which I think is a little tougher. So we're in that curve, I think, Daryl, of change. I think is what it is. So
I agree.
Yeah.
So your plan is to get your deputies to 85%? Is that what
Yeah. So it's and they're 85% is 2701. 2702 is what that is. So and I'm just going off of the sheet that I think between Brandon and Debbie worked this out and got it figured out. So basically it says that it would move mine to, it says it moves my gross amount, I'm assuming is 65,972.90. So, but I don't know what all that entails. But
okay, and that's their starting wage, right?
that'd be mine, and then their starting wage would be just shy of. It's going to be shy of. Oh gosh, let me take it.
We only do, when Debbie does these worksheets, we all work them out at 86%, which is a deputy after their year of service. So the 2728 is the 86%. So it'd be 1% off of that would be the starting deputy wage. But that's, we don't budget for the 85 just because it's not that much at the end of the year, and we usually just come out ahead budgeting for that higher number.
So
I think the other thing that's important for everybody to know is that, that's off our current bill value. We're going off that plan that we implemented last year to kind of run a year behind. And so that's not a projection. This is our current budget. It's all within it, and still has our plan to fix our capital improvement funds and everything. This doesn't change any of that.
I didn't realize, and perhaps it's just me being new, but that you were, in your budget, you had the COLA, whatever that is set at, to start for the deputies July 1st.
No,
Oh, okay.
I don't. So,
But if that's been past practice, is that if there is one, if there's a COLA giving, which is never approved until, help me if I'm wrong, I want to say September, before, say you guys got to have it done and submitted by September 30th, I think is what it is. And so that's always decided in that week. And then if it was given, then it was retro back to July 1st, is what the common past practice has been. So that was all the assumption was. It's not,
Okay.
is that going off of past practice, not, this is what I'm saying. It's just, if it's done, then it'd be consistent with what the past practice has been. So, if that help? Or
Yes.
okay.
No, that helps a lot. I didn't understand that part of it.
And I guess what's in our budget are these numbers that we're talking about today, so that would, make our budget even come out a lot better than where we're even at, is that it would, not take effect until that law takes effect October 1st. But if you guys decide on a COLA, that they would receive that, and if it starts then, it starts then, that's up for you guys to all decide. But that, it just makes our budget a little better. So, and I would work with Debbie on, making those adjustments and fixing that, but.
Thank you for that clarification. I was confused.
Any further discussion, questions? Yes, go ahead.
I just have a comment when we get to that, when it's my turn. I wasn't sure when it was, so.
Okay. Any other discussion? Public comment?
No.
Okay.
I guess I would just urge you to look at this, and I feel like we're all feeling right now the change that's happening in this county. I mean, the people that are moving in, and not just the people that are moving in, the recreation, the outside visitors that are happening, it's quite a level of activity. I think in a good way, but I mean, I think this town is now, we're starting to see some growth. We're seeing some economic things happen in this town that, for years we've been driving up and down Broadway, seeing empty storefronts, and I think about 12 months from now, there's not going to be any empty storefronts on Broadway, and things are starting to click. But what's happening is that's a lot of people, and boy, people just bring problems with them. Or they get here and they decide to cause a few. I remember last summer when the COVID lockdown kind of eased up a little bit, and people just hit our campgrounds. And we just kind of had this joke about getting all these. Nick could tell us all kinds of details. Getting these calls, I'm like, man, we've always had problems at campgrounds, but it seems like we just more and more and more. And so, on one hand, I think there's the deputies and folks in the sheriff's office. They take a lot of pride in what they're doing. They take pride in working hard and being the person in the middle of the night that responds. But it is a strain. It's a cumulative strain on them and their families, and not just the fact that their shifts are different and they're doing, this month they're doing nights and maybe next month they're doing days or they're doing weekends. That comes with the territory of a lot of jobs, but that's a kind of a lifelong expectation that they have, that they're going to have various shifts. But then just the stress of the job. It can be a stressful job. It can be when you're generally every call you're going to is something bad, right? And they're going to calls where it may be the worst thing that's ever happened in that family in their entire lifetimes. And it could be the fourth time that cop has seen the identical thing that week. So think about that. Imagine the worst thing that's ever happened in your family, the most traumatic event that everyone will remember for generations, and that cop may have seen that 3 or 4 times that week. And over the course of their career, they've seen it hundreds of times. That tends to add up to them and their families. It really does. We get a little deadened about it. I mean, you get a bunch of prosecutors together and we start telling stories, and wow, everyone's got this little bag of crazy memories. Well, every cop does too. Every cop has a bag of crazy memories, and after a while, that starts to add up. So it's not a job where you can go, well, I can get by on bare minimum and watch people that are downtown starting wage making more, and what that happens is when they make that, they leave that job at home when they go home. The cops often don't leave their jobs at home, either because it's in their head or because they get home and 20 minutes later they get called and they're back at work. So I am also concerned about the fact that this legislation, which was very necessary, that was passed, is very good legislation, but the result is sheriff's departments all around us are going to be paying more. And hardworking, dedicated, well-trained officers in this county want to stay in this county. That's why they're here. But if it comes down to the fact that, hey, I've got to take care of my family, at some point they may decide, I'm going to Jeffco, or I'm going to, we're going to Marr County. Boy, the pace is a lot slower there.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that do this just because, well, they deserve. Well, they do, but it's not just that. It's that you got constituents in this county that when they call 911, they expect a qualified officer to be there, and so you got to provide that service. So I'm urging you to support it.
And I would throw this in there, and one of the things that I get, Captain Rouse reminds me, I hate sending people to training anymore because they end up sitting around in a circle having conversations. And unfortunately, when it comes to the PDs, and that's one of the things that's real tough, is somebody with 3, 4, 5 years on the job could be making $38, $40 an hour in Bozeman. And that's hard to keep people here at $22 an hour. And they're not required to live there, nor are they required to live at the Helena PD, and they pay about the same as well. And so when I talk about trying to retain, it's not, there's some big money to be made in those other agencies, the PD and the Highway Patrol now, and they're making a strain. It's not just me that's having this problem. It's probably 49 other counties in the state of Montana that are really struggling right now because they get them and then somebody just jump ship and goes somewhere else. So it's just one of those things. And obviously with the defund the police movement in the last year has made people shy away from this even farther. And so, right now we have a great crew. I'd like to keep them. I'd like to get some more added to it. And I think as we continue to grow and get bigger, we're going to need to have something in place that brings quality law enforcement to the table. So that's just my opinion for what it's worth. So.
All right. I see one challenge with the COLA thing, and when we have a recommendation from our board, is it 3.5%? Is that what they recommended, the compensation board? So, I mean, it could be more, it could be less. We don't have a fixed number yet. So, if we give a number and it changes in September, it's going to be I don't know how Debbie will adjust all that out.
Well, I don't think we're expecting a number on a COLA, just whatever it is. I mean, none of us have a crystal ball, and I don't know what tomorrow's going to look like, let alone next month.
Mhm.
So, Lord only knows what's going to happen at the state level. So, I think that's just one of those things. But I think our recommendation was just if you do give one, if whatever it is, so.
Okay. So we'll meet with the union next week? Is that right?
I think so.
I believe.
7th sounds familiar, but
Yeah, I'd have to look
that's
them.
May, so your
Okay.
calendar's on. I think it's the 7th, so.
All right.
Monday.
But I can get a hold of her and see if she'll write something up that, in regards to your request there, and
Yeah.
something other than her word to me, something a little more concrete and foundational. So I can do that as soon as we walk out of here. So
Yeah, I just don't want to
okay.
go down that road and have to fight that fight.
We got plenty of fights, and if I may interject, just so you know, because it's going to be one of those expenditures. We got another lawsuit, and so we're going to pay another deductible. So
Okay.
it is what it is. So, but it's $5,000. So okay.
All right. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Any public comment? Okay, so no, I guess we will entertain a motion to approve the sheriff's market wage adjustment.
I don't think we're ready to do that.
What's that?
I don't think we're ready to do that.
You don't think so?
No.
Okay. We'll wait on the table that till next week then? Or do you want to table it till after union meetings?
Pardon me?
You want to table it till after union meetings?
Yeah. Or at least till, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Did
Would you
you?
be comfortable, Daryl, if the motion was with the disclaimer that we get a letter from the union? Or you want to have those discussions?
I want to have that discussion. We get our letter from the union.
I'll work on that. Get that to you today.
Okay.
Okay. You guys good with one that's scanned in from him? If she scans it,
Sure.
she doesn't. Okay. If I get it from Foley.
Yep.
Okay. I'll work on that. Okay.
Thanks, Wayne.
Thank you.
Okay, next is the KLJ agreement independent fee estimate for the proposed project at the airport.
You got that, Mike, right?
Yes.
Okay. Are you here for that?
Hell, I was.
Okay.
The window was probably open some time ago, and I didn't know anything about it. But council members and Mike, thank you for taking off that offensive headwear. My name's Brad White, and I just wanted to get this petition for annexation of some property we have on North Cherry, right past Barry White's residence. And I just wanted to get it before the council, so that perhaps as you review it, maybe we can get a meeting with the city planner.
That would, we wouldn't handle that.
What's that?
That just goes to the city.
This just goes to the city?
It just goes to the city, up at the city hall, yeah.
Okay, I've got some misinformation then.
Yeah, it has to go through the city. Yeah.
Just take it down to the city hall?
Yeah, just take it down to the city hall and then they'll get you on the city agenda. They'll probably send you to the planning board and the board of adjustments.
Yeah, okay,
So take it down to
Okay.
Colleen.
okay.
Okay.
You put your hat on after I get out of the
Oh,
Sir,
don't forget.
are those your glasses?
I'm sorry?
Are those your sunglasses?
Thank you.
So Darryl, do you want to
Sure.
tell us what we got going on?
Yeah, so this contract with KLJ, the airport is undergoing a refurbishment project starting 2022, I believe, will be engineering, and 2023, the project, unless they receive some FAA funding sooner than that. And this is actually part of the checks and balances. So the engineering firm that has been hired by the airport to do that work is Robert Petch and Associates. And they put together all of their calculations and their costs, but it needs to be verified by an independent engineering firm. So KLJ was selected to review all of their calculations and their costs and see if they are on track or if they're out of line, and that is the purpose of this contract.
So this is just an engineering firm reviewing an engineering firm?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
So any other questions then? Any public comment? Please entertain a motion to approve the KLJ contract.
Okay, and Janaea has looked at it, and she's worked with Nathan from KLJ, and they got some of the things that needed to be corrected taken care of. So,
Yeah, she told me she's going to do it.
okay. So with that, I would make the motion to approve and sign the KLJ contract.
Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the KLJ contract for engineer review. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. So we have mail here, the commissioner minutes for May 24th, 2021.
I'll move to approve the minutes from May 24th, 2021.
Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Motion been made and seconded to approve minutes from May 21st, 2021. All in favor?
Something else.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Okay, we have a letter here from Vigilante Electric to the TV district for a patronage capital credit statement for $645.79. We have a letter here from Capital Concrete to provide as part of the public notice requirement for an open cut mining permit application at their Winston gravel site. We have claims in the amount of $49,022.75.
I'll move to approve the claims for $49,022.75.
On the second.
Motion's been made and seconded to pay claims in said amount. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Does anyone have anything else to bring before the commission?
There's one more thing on the agenda,
What's that?
the trust board transfer.
Oh, the trust board. Oh, okay, the trust
We
board
have an-
transfer.
Yeah, we have an
funds.
email from them as of this date, which was May 22nd. Their current balance at First Premier was 3.2 million. And they would like to withdraw 500,000 of that and move it into their county account. And I have an email that they approved this
Okay.
and are requesting it from us. And it's still hopefully, depending on the amount in their First Premier account as of today, will have enough money for their threshold.
Okay.
Okay. I guess I'll make the motion to approve the transfer of $500,000 from the First Premier account to the county account for the trust board.
Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the trust board transfer of $500,000 out of their account into the trust board active account. Is there any further discussion? Take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same. Motion carries. That's the end of the agenda. Has anybody got anything else? If not, we will adjourn at 11:47.
Did you want that Great West meeting tomorrow live streamed?